No comment.
Buenas noches, gente. Qué bueno.
Buenas noches.
Qué buena esta noche. Qué bien que la vamos a pasar con acá invitado especial el señor
Primer
Agus,
protagonista del cómic para
primer
mí.
protagonista del cómic, el señor Agus de Speed Force. Síganlo en Instagram.
Debajo están las redes.
Experto en Flash, así que ya saben, si es experto en Flash es porque vamos a hablar de Flash, y si vamos a hablar de Flash es porque hay alguien que sabe de Flash y que está relacionado con Flash. Antes que nada, buenas noches, Marito, ¿cómo te va?
Muy buenas noches, Kai, buenas noches, Agus, buenas noches a todos. La verdad, feliz de estar en este nuevo countdown al 30, porque ya decimos el 20.
Bueno. Vamos por 21 recién. Recién empezamos, pero todavía nos llama 25. A 25 empezamos el countdown.
Sí, pero felices. La verdad que tenemos una persona muy grata y muy copada para todos ustedes.
Totalmente. Así que a partir de ahora vamos a hablar en inglés. Vamos a decir hola a la gente del chat. Ángel, buenas.
Hola.
A los miembros del canal, Xavi. Grandes amigos del canal, Xavi, RD, Tom Lázaro,
Tom,
el señor Christopher Sánchez, el señor Manuel García Muro,
Manolo, querido,
Camila González,
la Cami,
y el señor Esteban Calvi, que siempre está ahí al pie de cañón porque es muy comiquero.
Ya me venían peticiando esto. ¿Y cómo te lo aguantás hoy? Y estoy muy nervioso, no importa.
Pero bueno.
Quédense tranquilos que ella tiene un cargamento de analgésicos ya preparado.
No, ansiolíticos.
Ansiolíticos, perdón. Está todo listo.
Sí, totalmente, Christopher. Mucho calor acá. Too hot here en Argentina. Pero vamos a hablar en inglés a partir de ahora. Hola Ale. Hoy estaba ahí entrenando bien ahí, bien.
Todo lo estamos haciendo.
Vamos a presentar a nuestro invitado. We're gonna present our guest. He is a screenwriter for a lot of animated DC movies. A lot of DC movies that we loved, like Teen Titans Go, like Justice Society,
Batman Soul of the
Dragon, and he's the regular of the actual ongoing series from The Flash. I'm talking about the one and only Jeremy Adams.
Hey!
Hey!
Welcome, Jeremy.
I'm so glad to be here. I wish my Spanish was better. I would jump in.
Don't worry.
First of all, we feel sorry about our English. So
Totally.
Don't feel sorry about knowing two languages. I did Spanish for many years, and it's like enough to get me shot. Like I don't know enough, like at all. It's terrible.
Well, Jeremy, first of all, tell us how you how you got into the comics, not in the comic industry. How you got into comics? How you began
in the comic books, or just writing in general?
Comic books.
So the comic book story is interesting. That originally, I've always wanted to do comic books. My father did some DC comics when I was a little kid, just a couple. He did something called Ghosts for DC Comics, and then he did some Captain Atom in the 80s. And he was an artist, and I didn't know he did the Captain Atom till years later. But so I always grew up with superheroes, and that's always something I wanted to be part of. I loved it. If you would have told me now, when I was like 8, 9, 10, that I would be writing comics, my head would have exploded, honestly. So what happened was I was doing animation, and I was writing on Supernatural, and I get a call from my mentor boss named Jim Krieg, and Jim says, hey, they're looking for a list at DC for animation writers. Now, for those that don't know, DC animation, it's kind of well known for being really good renditions of DC stuff. So anyways, I was part of this list, and I went to DC Comics, and it was with Dan Didio, and we were in this room, and he's running around, and he's talking about 5G. We're going to do this thing called 5G. We're going to leap the DC universe forward like 5 years. And I'm like, what? Okay. And everybody's going to do a book, and you're going to do a book, and you're going to do a book. And I'm like, oh, you know, and I was so excited. And then he got fired. And all of Warner Brothers got sold. And I was like, oh, like I was so close. So then I was still kind of working, trying to do a backup in the Superman World at War, the Black Racer, but it really wasn't going anywhere. So my friend Tim Sheridan, who I know from doing animation, he was doing Future State Teen Titans, and the editor named Mike Cotton said, hey, I've got this list of people. Do you know Jeremy Adams? He's like, oh yeah, Jeremy's great. So then Mike gave me the shot to do the Future State Black Adam. That was really my first comic book. And when I was like, and you can tell, I'm like, hello, geek boy. Hola, geek boy. I was like, cramming all this stuff in the Black Adam, and they let me create Gold Beetle. And I was like, this is crazy. They're just going to let me do this stuff. And then they liked it, and they said, hey, do you have any ideas for the Flash? And I'm like, do I have ideas? You know, we're going to quantum leap Wally West, you know, and they seem to be okay with it. And honestly, so that's how I started writing the Flash. I mean, I'm new to comic books in terms of writing, even though I've read comic books my entire life, and so that's how I started doing the Flash.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mario. Go ahead.
So Jeremy, you start very low with Black Adam. Nowadays, there's going to be a movie now.
I know.
Next year. So
if you look at the Black Adam Future State, he looks a lot like The Rock. like he's
the freaking Rock. It's the freaking Rock.
I think I was trying to get them to let me do the people's elbow or like the rock bottom to somebody. Totally rad.
There's a scene where the artist used that eyebrow. That eyebrow thing with
that artist is Fernando Pasarin, who I think Fernando Pasarin is just like the greatest artist, and he's going to be doing a lot of the upcoming Flashes. As much as I could possibly use him, I don't even know where he lives. I think he might live in Spain or something. And everything I write, he just translates in the best way. So he did in the annual, he did all the Heroes in Crisis stuff. He's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. We're gonna jump to the animation part and tell us what's the most different part between writing comics and writing animation.
Thank you, Martin. The biggest part is that in animation, well, I mean, it's different in terms of the actual form, right? So in comic books, you'll have page 1, panel 1, right? And in animation, it's screenwriting, so it's a little different. The main difference is that in animation, there's a lot more people that are collaborating. And so I liken it to, I'm writing a blueprint for a house, and then I have to give it over to the people that actually build the house. And so my job is to get people excited and get people bought on. But the other thing about animation is I'll put in a movie or like a script, and I won't see it for 2 years. I mean, by the time it comes back, I literally have forgotten, or somebody will go, hey, Batman Soul of the Dragon's coming out. I'm like, it is? I didn't know. You know, sometimes I don't know when it's coming out or if it's going to come out. So go ahead.
Sorry, Jeremy.
No.
There's a big difference about writing something about the animations, because something you wrote for Lego, because Lego, the Lego thing is for much more general or more or
Young.
designated to kids, to little kids.
Kids and family.
So the other stuff is for all of us.
Right. Yeah, that's how I feel. But also with comic books, they come out every month, and it's a faster turnaround. So you get a lot of more response, and there's not that many people. It's me, the artist, the editor, the inker, but it's very limited. I mean, the weird thing is I'm like months ahead on the Flash. That's just a problem I have. Like if they would let me, I would write like 3 years right now, and they would just be like,
Go on.
I'm saying I have crazy plans, so I just have to get everybody to buy off on it. So the difference in a lot of ways is animation is much more collaborative, and you have to wait a long time versus comic books. You get it quite quickly. And like you said, Mario, in animation, I did a lot of younger stuff, but then I did Mortal Kombat, which is, really violent.
I love it.
Nice work. Nice work.
Jeremy, we choose three of your movies that you write, and here they are.
Yep. Let's see. Hey! Go back!
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. We are totally fans from the Teen Titans Go. We love them. We really love them. We love the series. We love the movie, and this one, I really loved what you did with this multiverse and all the Titans from all the multiverse. It was awesome.
Well, listen, Marley is the co-writer on this, and he did a lot of the heavy lifting. I came in and really worked on a lot of the Raven stuff. Oh, look at Christopher. Christopher's my favorite. But so I got to come in and work on that. The guy who directed it is so great. I'm a big fan of the old Teen Titans cartoon, and I love Teen Titans Go. So this was just like, oh my gosh, what a thrill. So yeah, that was a really fun one. That year at Comic-Con, I think I had like 3 movies premiere. And I can't tell you guys, like 10 years ago, I was just sitting in the audience going, oh man, I hope someday I can write these things. And then suddenly it started happening, and I'm like, I can't believe they're letting me write these things, So, but with Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, most of that credit I will give to Marley. He did such a great job, and I got a chance to work on that project, and it came out so good. That's where the unkindness came from, and I co-created that, and that's making that was a big part of the Black Adam future state. So I brought that character animation, put it in there, and it's also a part of Teen Titans Academy right now that Tim Sheridan's doing. No.
Yeah. One thing that I loved from the movie was that that meta message when the two teams clash in the arena, and there's one guy holding a sign,
a billboard
saying you ruined my Teen Titans. That was something that everyone said when Teen Titans Go premiered.
Yep.
Before after the last series ended, and that was a different take on of the Teen Titans. That first everyone thought that it was like, I don't know, a joke that they wasn't taken seriously. But what I can say it was that I can watch that show and that series with my kids, with my friends, with people from all ages. From all ages.
Yes.
It has a lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Like, as a fan, I have the same reaction every time. I remember when Batman Brave and the Bold, like they announced it, and I was like, how dare you? And then suddenly you're watching it and you're like, this is amazing. You know, like I never stop having that reaction. It's just like the minute they do something to something I love, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch your Batman movie. And then suddenly I see the trailer, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go see it.
You know, Jeremy, my daughter, she's not fun. She was not a big fan of us about superheroes, but you know, she loved these 5 characters as a gang, as a group of friends, because it's a group of friends, and she loved it. And she said, "Hey, Dad, you know who they are?" Yes, of course they are Teen Titans. I said, no, yes, but and she started to tell me everything about the DC universe, and I was out of laugh because it was amazing that all the things that you create and put a lot of things and the characters and every story is in there. So it's amazing how this work, all the things work.
That show is so well done. I had the same experience on the DC superhero girls.
Another one.
I have 2 daughters, and before I was having, like, when I found out my wife was pregnant, they said, "Oh, you're gonna have a daughter," and I was like, "Oh man, I wanted to play lightsabers." And I wanted to do, and I had a friend who was a girl, goes, "You can do that with girls, dude." And I was like, "You can?" You know, and suddenly I was like, "Oh, you can do that with girls. You can," you know, and so now my daughters know more about superheroes than anyone.
Yes.
Like anyone.
It's the same thing with my family.
Well, that's I think the most important thing about these shows, that they reach the younger kids, and they get this mythology to get near them, to meet them, to know about them. I can't believe kids know who is Cyborg, who is Beast Boy, who is Jessica Cruz.
Right, Jessica Cruz. Yeah. Well, listen, it's crazy. It's like,
it's amazing.
By the way, did you guys read Wizard magazine when it used to come out? So Wizard magazine would always have wizard casts where they would like cast the role in a movie, you know?
Yeah, the fan cast.
Yeah, the fan cast. And
here are my guys.
Oh, hey. That's awesome. You know, it's like now we live in a world in which there's a Morbius movie. You know, like we're at the bottom of the barrel, and they're getting movies for everyone. You know, it's crazy. But like when I was a kid, liking superheroes wasn't. It was like, yeah, you liked it. You were kind of a nerd, but like I remember somebody going, you know, Star Trek's really cool, and I was like, that wasn't. If I said that out loud in my school, I was going to get in the toilet. Like somebody was going to punch me in the face, you know? And now it's like, yeah, see, you know what I'm talking about? So it's so weird to me. I mean, it's cool because all this stuff that we love is like popular now. And I went to my daughter's school to do like a talk to everyone or talk to the kids about what I did. And they didn't know. You know, that I books. And I started going, I go, yeah, and I write movies. And I started pulling out all these movies, and these kids have seen these movies like all of them 1 billion times. And I didn't realize they were so popular because those kids aren't on Twitter, you know? So there's a dad whose kid goes to the same school. This dad wrote Braveheart, okay? And so the teacher says to me, "Oh, you do the same thing that he does." And I'm like, "You just put me in the same category as Braveheart." And I'm like, "That's insane." But then I'm looking around at the kids, and I'm like, the kids have never seen Braveheart, but they've seen Lego Shazam like 100 times. So I'm like, maybe I'm on the same level. I don't know. You know, it's so funny. It's
Why
so
not?
funny.
I don't care if you won the Academy Award.
Right.
I can imagine the father and father talking. What? Who's did some?
Yeah.
We're talking about Lego.
Who's
Yeah.
William Wallace?
Yeah, who's William
William
Wallace?
Wallace.
Tell me about freedom. I
This
want to
guy's-
know about. Yeah. I mean, listen. If Warner Brothers wants to give me a live action, movie, I will knock it out of the park. I mean, Soul of the Dragon is. You could basically take all those actors and just make a live action version of that. You
It's
know.
Nice movie
It's
about
a great
kung fu.
movie.
Yeah.
It's
Now
a
you-
great movie.
Now you mentioned.
I want
Hey.
to ask you because you based
Go ahead,
this
Mario.
of, Enter the Dragon, right?
Yeah. So
I love it.
So what happened was I was pitching all the time. One of the things I really love about DC Comics in particular is they have great martial artists, right? They've had, I don't know if you've ever read the Chuck Dixon run of comics when he was running the Bat books. He really dived into it, and then Gail Simone and Birds of Prey. And so it was really cool. And I loved, Cassandra Cain. I love the martial arts. I love karate and martial arts anyways. So that in the DC Comics was awesome. So anybody, before we went into meetings, people would be like, Jeremy, don't talk about martial arts. And I'd be like, no, I'm talking about. And then we get in the meeting. I'd be like, no, bronze tigers could totally take out, I would immediately start talking. So I had been pitching Batman Into the Dragon for a while. And evidently Bruce Timm was in a meeting and said, I have an idea. I want to do Batman Into the Dragon. And everybody goes, you got to talk to Jeremy, And I was like, so I'm going to, so they're like, you got to write this. And I was like, of course I've got to write it. And also, I've never worked with Bruce Timm. He was the producer on Green Lantern, which is the first credit I got. But I had never really worked with him. I had said hi to him every once in a while. And so he walked in and he said, I go, so yeah, I've had the similar idea, Mr. Timm, that I wanted to do Batman Into the Dragon. He goes, I don't want to just do Batman Into the Dragon. I also want to do Big Trouble in Little China. And I almost fainted. That's like my favorite movie, And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so Bruce and I really hit it off. We would talk about the story for about 45 minutes and then 3 hours of just going no, you got to see Lone Wolf McQuade, and looking up videos. And so we really got along. And Bruce really policed all the 70s of it. I tried to do, there's a scene where the Axe Gang is attacking Batman and Richard Dragon in the bottom of his discotheque, his club.
It's lovely scene.
Right.
Lovely scene.
So I originally wanted to do it as disco, and I wanted Bruce to have a line like "Disco's dead" or something. He say something like that, and Bruce was like, "No, disco didn't exist in '74. He had a specific year." And all the fashion and everything he made sure stuck within that certain year. And it couldn't go beyond that year. So if I said, some slang, he's like, that slang didn't show up until 79, So it was really, really fun.
I want to ask you about that because the time is important. It was your idea to, one of Wayne's business is a disco.
No, I know. The idea was, we were like, it would be cool if we did, because it's an Elseworlds tale and because it takes place in the 70s, we could do a little bit different. We wanted to do a different Batman story, right? And so the idea strategically is that Bruce Wayne had a club that bad guys would go to, and he would have these microphones so he could just find out what they were doing. I was like, well, it's the 70s. It's got to be like John Travolta, whatever. And it was immediately like, no, we're not doing that.
And the other question,
Bruce will look at me and go, that's stupid.
And the other thing, it was very clever that you put Silver St. Clair.
Right. Well, it was that era.
Very,
yeah. And you've never, when have you ever seen her in anything. And Bruce was like, I think that's his crush from like back when he was a kid, you know? So that was really cool. And then I'm such a fan of movies like Highlander. You know, you can see the transitions of like, he's breaking ice. And then we immediately go to, you know, him with the pick climbing up to Nanda Parbat. And like, I tried to make those transitions very much like Highlander, because I loved Highlander. And it was a fun mashup of so many different genres. But the key to it was that Bruce Wayne was not the most effective martial artist. And that, but when he put on that mask, it was a totally different scenario. That was kind of like his thing. And it was so much fun. I mean, I'm a big Michael Jai White fan. So the fact that he was in it, and Mark Dacascos, if you've ever seen Only the Strong or Brotherhood of the Wolf, or, you know, and when I met him, I was like, I'm a big fan. He's like, oh, and he's like the nicest person. He's like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, no, I'm a big fan. Like, you know,
No way.
No way, man.
Yeah, like, and that's the problem. Like, I'm such a nerd fan. In the Lego Flash movie that I did, the guy who does the voice of Reverse Flash is Dwight Schultz, who he was on.
My God, H.M. Murdoch.
That's what I'm saying.
It's Murdoch.
Murdoch. And I'm like, and so Jim gave me an A-Team lunch pail. He's like, you got to get him to sign your lunch pail. He came in. I couldn't move. I was like, and I just, Mad Dog Murdoch is here. You know? And I'm like, I just couldn't. I couldn't forgive him.
The A-Team is my favorite TV
show I
love
ever. The A-Team.
I love the A-Team.
It's awesome.
I love
it. All the Stephen Cannell shows, like Greatest American Hero, A-Team, you know, Renegade. I love all of them. And the A-Team.
Renegade
with Lorenzo Lamas.
We have a very special story here in Argentina with Renegade.
What? Tell me.
You know Lorenzo Lamas.
Yes.
His father is from Argentina, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that TV series of the Stephen J. Cannell was very popular here on Saturdays in the afternoon.
That's awesome.
So the Renegade is a trademark here in Argentina.
Well, listen. So there was a church that I would go to here in Los Angeles for a while, and it was this church, and I was helping out at the coffee cart, you know. And this guy comes up and says, "Oh, I'll have a cappuccino or whatever." And I look up, and it's Lorenzo Lamas, and I'm going, and the guy next to me has no clue who he is, and I'm like, "The Renegade is right here, he's asking for him," you know, and I'm like slapping him, and you know, because it's like not just Renegade, but Snake Eater and stuff, and so I was like freaking out because I was like, "Dude, the Renegade," you know, and so I love that, and the A-Team I love. And so I love all those old shows, and you can tell because, you know, even in my writing, it's just so kind of like a throwback. Like even with the Flash, it's like people go, "It's a throwback comic." I'm like, yeah, it is. It's not dark. It's not maudlin. It's heroic and adventures. And like, I could give this to a 10-year-old and be okay with it. Like not worried about it being, you know, whatever. But that's what it was when you watched the A-Team. It wasn't like people, even when you watch G.I. Joe, it was like a plane would explode and then there would be a parachute or whatever. But like the A-Team, it's like, oh man, they're locked in this warehouse, and then suddenly it's a montage of them like building a tank out of something. You know? I love that. I still love that stuff. And that's why when I read comic books, it was like, I read them because it was like, this is going to be exciting. I'm going to go on an adventure. I'm going to have fun. It's not for me to like end and go, oh, you know, hold on, you know, like I mean, there's a place for that. I just feel like a lot of people are doing that. So why don't I just do something different, you know?
Yeah, something fun.
Yeah. It's supposed to be comics.
Yeah.
So comics are supposed to be fun. And yeah. Most people doesn't understand, and most people take it too much seriously sometimes. And it's a shame because, as you said, when I read your run and the backups from Future State, I enjoy a lot. A lot of the jokes and that fresh take on the characters, and it was, and I felt like it was fun. That
Fun,
was
right.
that was what I felt. That was
Right.
fun, and that
Right.
was something that I really appreciate because today comics, at least most comics are taking Mars very seriously. They're taking like I know I
They
don't
don't
want
have different ways. They
Yes.
don't have different ways. So
I don't want to getting into some subjects, but they get a lot of stuff inside, and a lot of people talk about it and put a lot of things in the boards, and it's just a comic book, man.
Right.
You're reading a comic book, and you're supposed to be fun.
This is the thing with the Flash. I definitely, now if they said, Jeremy, we want you to write the Suicide Squad, people are gonna die. You know what I mean? And it might be kind of fun. I don't know, but I think there's a time and a place. I just feel like you can't do one of everything. I mean, like the same feeling all the time. Oh, you're the best. Sorry, Christopher. Now it's that. No, just kidding. Like to me, with Flash in particular, because Wally has been kind of like beaten up a lot. It's like I said at the beginning. I said, listen, as long as I'm writing the Flash, Wally's gonna be okay, which is both a promise and a threat, right? Like if I get kicked off this
Thank
book,
you.
Somebody I don't know what they'll do, So the way I look at Wally, especially, is that I like shows like Doctor Who too, and you have this character that could literally travel through time, that can go faster than anybody, and so because of that, I want to have these kind of like crazy adventures. And if you look at the old Flash books, that's what they were. They were bananas. And so I'm hoping to start bringing in more, like I want to start bringing in more of the speedsters. I want to tell some more, kind of fun, crazy stories. I do want to bring in some danger, but like I'm very aware of the history of what they've done to Wally West. And I won't let that happen. And also I'm looking at other characters. I'm like, who else needs to be saved?
The
savior.
We need happy endings,
right? Well, because it's comic books. So the thing is, it's like I had always heard that if somebody does a run of comic books, their job at the end of the run of the comic books is to bring the character back to status quo, so somebody else can take it on. And that's what I hope everybody does, but I'm still learning that there is, like, if you're going to use another character, it's important to find out who's using that character and get permission. And is that okay if I use your character? Right now it's fun because I feel like with the Flash, I've been able to pull in people like Mr. Terrific, and I'm not going to make him like a Vulcan. Mr. Terrific has his own franchises, like, he has his oil franchises, all this stuff that it's like, because he's super smart, he has labs all around the world. I kind of want to make him more Buckaroo Banzai than, I'm just Mr. Terrific, so I'm having fun, and they're letting me get away with a lot. The next issue is going to be so bananas. I hope everybody really enjoys it.
The next issue with Dr. Fate.
Yes, Dr. Fate. So Dr. Fate at the end of 775 pulls him into a place. Yes, and that's going to kick off. I mean, 775 really did kick off the next arc, but it'll be the next issue that really starts moving into that arc. And the way that I am doing the Flash is a lot like the way that I watched X-Files or Buffy, was like you would do a couple grounded issues or grounded episodes that took place in, Central City or Keystone. And then you would do something that services a bigger arc, So that's kind of how I'm trying to, operate with the Flash. I want to do a couple issues of, it's, Wally and Ira going to a dance. And it's like, it's a cute little thing you can read and just let go of. And then you go on to something a little bigger.
It's amazing what you did in Blink of an Eye. With the first start,
thank you, Star.
774 is amazing. We will get there, but we will make slides especially for 774.
Okay,
it's special. Okay. But the Blink of an Eye was a really good, amazing start with the first Wally West story in 12 years.
Wow.
From before Flashpoint, we didn't see Wally as Flash, and before Final Crisis, we didn't see as the main character.
The first decent story in years.
Flash as the title. Flash as the title.
This is Mike Barr.
Wally West story in years. The first decent Wally West story in years.
As Flash.
Well, part of the reason I did Blink of an Eye the way that I did was, the name comes from, ironically, when you read Heroes in Crisis, there's this moment where Wally is covering up his murdering, and he does it like that. And the only thought I had was like, man, speedsters could live and have a whole other story that happens in a blink of an eye. And that's why I want, I was taking that journey as the writer of the Flash to get to know who Wally was, who I wanted to write him as. And I needed to make sure that I enjoyed him because I'm a dad of 2 kids. He's a dad of 2 kids. It became a little easier, but also I'm not going to write somebody that I don't care for. That's, a murderer or whatever. And so of course, if I'm in that position, then I'm going to be able to kind of like play with that. And Williamson had already played with it. Williamson had already said that, the Reverse Flash had like spoken into his ear and caused him to cover it up. So to me, the only thing that was left over was, this explosion. So what was great about it was a way for me to introduce the other speedsters without introducing the other speedsters, right? And it was a lot of fun. Maybe it went an issue too long in my mind a little bit, but I got to bring in a character I created, Gold Beetle, as you can see, from 769, which is super fun, and do it in Bart's body. And then you hear in there, what I loved about that is because you get this sense, it's like, oh my gosh, a Gold Beetle and Flash work together at some point in the future. And I still want to tell that story, and I've slowly been telling that story for astute viewers. And then this is the other thing. So I was told, Wally's going to come back, and Barry is going to say, hey, be the Flash. And I didn't know that there was a panel in Infinite Crisis where Barry was like, you're the Flash now, Wally. So I retweaked it a little bit so that it was like, I can't do that. I'm going to quit because of all this trauma that I experienced. And that was going to be the story that he goes on. It's like, I don't want to be the Flash because it endangered my kids. It endangered my wife. And to me, one of the most important issues was the one where he sees his future daughter, and she says, no, you're the one who taught me to be a hero. Every along the way. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Along the way, everybody's telling him how much of a hero he is, and he is a hero. He's taking on Hitler. He's slapping Lex Luthor 100 times in the face.
Amazing.
I love that. Kevin McGuire did that art, and if you're a fan of like Justice League International, like I am, that was like a dream come true.
Mario is a big fan of JLA.
I'm a really big fan of JLA.
Oh.
I love it. I really love that arc. I love the stories. I love everything. Yeah. And I also love Justice League Europe.
Yes.
Wally.
It's like the
everything.
Same.
It's the same. But I hope you write a movie about the JLA.
Oh.
Whoa.
I mean, one of my two favorite covers ever was in the Justice League International. Do you remember when Guy Gardner bumped his head and he was like a pacifist? He was like all nice and sweet for like a year. And the cover was like Lobo over Guy Gardner, and then at the end he bumps his head again, and then it's him over Lobo, and I was like, this is the greatest comic I've ever read in my life. And I'm a huge somebody had asked like, who's your favorite character in comics? I'm a big Ted Cord Blue Beetle guy. Like that was one of the first books that I had picked up was a modern comics, like the Ditko Blue Beetle. And then I read all the JLI, obviously, and the Len Wein run of Blue Beetle, because he was kind of like a mix between Batman and Spider-Man. He was like funny, but he had gadgets, and I love that. And that, obviously, I love Booster Gold too. That's why Gold Beetle exists. And Gold Beetle is just crazy, So it's like, oh, this is fun.
Well, I really enjoyed it in Future State. I got surprised because I was thinking that it was Booster Gold's daughter, and there was something weird there.
No. The way I look at it is that Blue. I even think in my head I would love for Gold Beetle to meet Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, and then to be like, what's going on, and then finding out it's like, oh yeah, my family and your family down the line. Kind of combine forces, because it's like you guys are close knit friends, and then your family, and then the girl that's the product of it like takes over, and I'll tell their secret origin at some point. But I want, if you've read Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, they would be stuck on the fact like, so you're saying we're gonna marry a girl and they're gonna like us, like it was like, because Booster and Blue Beetle were like, they're desperate. Like no girls would ever come, except Ted Cord hit on Barbara Gordon. They were like close to a relationship in Chuck Dixon's book. Yeah. And originally Tim Drake was supposed to become Blue Beetle. And then, they did the thing with Jaime Reyes, but I like Jaime Reyes. But again, here's another example of me going like, stupid, kill Ted Cord and make Jaime Reyes. And then I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I like Jaime Reyes, so I like him as a Blue Beetle. But I like Ted Cord. So
well, in your run, there's a lot of jokes and fun from the JLI. Yeah. When I read it, I laugh a lot, especially in the issue when you play with the Legion of Doom.
Oh yeah,
the Superpowers series.
Yeah.
That's where the Reverse Flash slaps Lex Luthor, and Kevin Maguire plays a lot with her with his facial expressions. It's so good. It's so good.
He does the best expressions. Like you can't get better than him. Somebody asked me, would you ever consider writing Spider-Man? Heck yes. Are you kidding me? I would. I'm at this stage where I'm so new at comic books. You could ask me to write a Nort 2-issue special. Do you remember Nort? He was like the dog Green Lantern. I would write. I would literally write whatever anybody gave me at this point. Because I want to get better at it.
You worked with the actual Green Lantern artist Marco Santucci in the first issue.
Yes. And Green Lantern, the animated series, was my first animated credit. I have a lot of affection for Green Lantern. When Jeff Johns was doing the main Green Lantern, and I think Tomasi was doing the Green Lantern Corps run.
Yeah,
I love the Green Lantern Corps run, and I like that expansive universe. So I have ideas of what I would do with any of those things. So,
what's your favorite Lantern?
Well, it's Guy Gardner, but just because he's a jerk. Listen,
because of Shalai.
The thing about Kyle is that, and people have been bugging me about Kyle and Wally have to get together, and Kyle and some of these other characters. What I love about Kyle at the time was like, again, he was kind of like Wally. It was like he was like the one, and sometimes Green Lantern gets lost in all these other rings and all the other colors and stuff like that. But he's like the guy who brings balance to the force, and I feel like he's very special. Yeah, there you go. And I feel like he's very special, and part of when a writer takes over, you kind of get the ability to kind of showcase the character that you like the most, So I think there'll be a Kyle resurgence at some point,
Please use it on the Flash.
I'm just saying.
Please.
A Raven the Bold special.
Raven the Bold special.
So good. So there's a lot of characters that I want to see. I know that there will be Wally will show up in a couple other books that I'm not writing, but some other books. That's right. And but I have some ideas of where I want some of the other characters that Wally's interacted with in the past to show up in the Flash book. I also have some, just crazy emotional ideas of things that I really want to see take place. What I love is that Ira got her kind of like moment in the sun, and Jay is going to get some of that. And the idea that Wally now knows from the run, from the episode where he meets his daughter and he jumps into his son's body, he knows that they are going to be superheroes. And so he feels like that is his responsibility to help start training them. And I think that that's going to be an important part of the book. And that's part of him being a family man. That's what makes him so different than so many other characters, because what other sidekick is got a functional family, that has a wife that loves him and 2 kids, and they have a home, and he makes stupid jokes, and he has to go to a dance. Like, what other character in the DC universe has that? I don't know if anybody does.
And the legacy.
And the legacy.
Yes. And the legacy. Well, actually, you got Nightwing, but he doesn't have a family. He just doesn't have a dog.
Come on, man. You and Babs is going. You got a dog. That's it.
A dog. Now we're gonna jump to a tough place that is
nice.
Did you guys know that the annual was a continuation of the series or the story? Some people told me they didn't know. Like, retailers were saying no one knew.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and when they read it, say, "Oh, now I get it."
Now you get
it. Used to be like solo stories,
right?
But this one goes right through,
right?
And it's an amazing finale.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to start it out just like Heroes in Crisis with that 9-panel grid, but you can see the tone of it is totally different because he's in the bathroom, And if you have kids, it's like you can never get away from them, right? And then that at this point in writing that comic, I had learned enough that I thought, okay, I think we can dive into some of these bigger issues. And with Roy, there was an opportunity that they would let me, because I told you, I want to save everybody. It's like they told me that like I could have kind of this moment with Roy, and I really wanted to kind of like focus on his recovery, like that AA, that the fact that he comes from a place of addiction and having those tools, and the idea that like you have to drop the rock. There's going to be hope the next day, but you have to show up for the next day. And so that's the hope of that entire run, is like, don't give up, because tomorrow's a new day, and you can get everything back. And with Wally, he's got his kids back, he's got his wife back, and now he gets the knowledge of knowing this isn't his fault. There's something else in the Speed Force, and then giving Roy that knowledge, or giving Wally that knowledge that Roy is like, this is what it means to be a hero. We signed up for this. if we die during the battle, then it's not meaningless, you know. And I can't wait till hopefully they see each other again, you know, and can, you know, they'll probably be like, oh my gosh, you know, remember when we fought Savitar, you know, and you killed me? No. So
that moment that you speak of is so touching because you can see the parallel between Barry and Ollie speaking, and when Ollie hears Roy,
right,
he you can feel the grief and the emotion that he's feeling in that moment, hearing that Roy is alive, and it's a moment. It's incredible. It's incredible.
That's the moment that Ollie changes from the first issue, where Ollie's just like, I don't want to talk to this guy. You know, he has resentment because he thinks this guy killed his son. And there's an element of like, you know, Ollie's kind of like, we can't just go messing around, you know, and changing time. And immediately he switches. He's like, we'll do whatever it is to save this kid, just like Barry, you know, wanted to do. And then it was just, you know, yeah, that was emotional for me to even write it, you know.
Jeremy, I wanna ask you something that always we spoke about with I was when I read the annual, that was this idea that first, if this idea of getting to the heroes in crisis momentum was on the plate in the first time when you got into the book. And the second thing is that when I read the annual and all the search thing and the thing in the Speed Force, the first thing I said to Aus was, they are doing the same that Jeff Jones did with Parallax. Why?
That's funny. I mean, I guess it's true in some ways. I mean, there are those kind of stories happen. You know, that piece of it, the Savitar and the Speed Force, I knew that something was in the Speed Force, but we went back and forth on what it was for a while. I knew it was all going to lead to Heroes in Crisis because that was my initial, that was part of the initial thing, the story I wanted to tell, because it was the elephant in the room that needed to be addressed. And there was a lot of people that told me they didn't want me to do it at all because they were like, no, let's just move on. Let's just move on. And I was like, I don't think we can move on until we totally absolve Wally of this, because otherwise it's going to be this weird stain on his character. And I don't mentally want to do with it, you know? So it's like, and when I read Heroes in Crisis, you know, this is the thing. Do you remember, I don't know if you read X-Men comics, but like when I was a kid and I read the Dark Phoenix saga, and it was like Jean Grey died, right? And it's like so sad, Jean Grey died. And then later on they say, no, that wasn't Jean Grey. She was like a clone. And then Madeline Pryor shows up and you're like, she looks just like Jean Grey, and she's the Goblin Queen and stuff. And that's the fun of comics. The fun of comics is like to go back in, and it's what they're doing with Spider-Man, right? Like the one more day. It's like they're addressing the Mephisto thing from years ago, and it's kind of satisfying to go back and mess with what has happened. And what you didn't know was this, you know. Yeah, so I knew that it was going to go to Heroes in Crisis. And as far as I knew the surge, I knew there was something causing the surge, and I knew that there was somebody in the surge. I had a couple of the crazy pitches that I had early on. I'll just tell you because they're not. Well, I don't know if I should tell you.
Tell me, please.
Come on. We are friends now. We are friends now.
My first pitch, if this shows up in a book later, then, you know, you guys got it here first. But my first pitch was that Wally like arrives home, kisses Linda, sees the kids, and the next thing you know, someone busts through the door and it's Wally. And the idea was that Wally never left the Speed Force. The Speed Force left the Speed Force and took on his persona. And so it was going to be like, so it was
Goosebumps.
Yeah,
Goosebumps.
so it was going to be this like, it was going to be, Wally was still in the Speed Force. And so whoever did all this stuff wasn't Wally, and it was, and now is living with his family and all this stuff because he was the last person in the Speed Force. So the Speed Force took on his image basically. And so anyways, I had that idea and they were like, you're nuts. I was like, oh, okay. So we won't do that. And so I had some other ideas, but this is what came out, and that's part of the fun.
That idea, I like it because it was very similar to the Clone Saga from Spider-Man. You remember when they say
that's true.
They say, no, it's not the original, it's a clone.
Yeah, that is true. It's funny when you read as many comic books as like you and I, all of us have. You forget sometimes some of the things you read. Did you ever read that? Did you ever read that Peter David? Like Peter David was one of my favorite writers, and he did an X Factor book. Did you ever read the X Factor book? Where oh my gosh, where Madrox the Multiple Man like impregnated somebody. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, because
I can't tell you. It's like years and years ago, but it was the most shocking. Okay, I'll just tell you, it was the most shocking thing. Like, so Madrox, he can like multiply himself, right? He can just multiply. I'm totally not talking about anything I'm doing. He can multiply himself, and anyways, he has this girlfriend, and she's having a baby, and he has the baby, and she hands it to him, and he reabsorbs the baby. Because it wasn't his baby, it was just one of his duplicates, and it was like, oh my gosh, but it's one of those things where like those little hooks in comic books are so powerful, so I'm constantly looking for like little things like that, and then I have to get people to okay it. Like I want to do something now in the Flash that I'm like, come on, you gotta let me do it. Come on, you gotta let me do it. And they're just like, no. And I'm like, come on, please. So I'm trying to.
A Speed Force clone wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's a nice idea. It reminds me of Return of Barry Allen when Barry was the reverse Flash. So the door opening.
Yeah, right. And that with the Flash, there's so many great characters that we haven't seen in a while. That was something Williamson did really well. He had so many speedsters, and I want to be able to do that. But I want to do
the return of Shay. The return of Shay.
That's right. Well, I just want to give them all like more time. It's not just they show up. I want to know their personalities. Like Wallace. It's like I want to like who is Wallace really, and how does he exist? Like certain things like that. Anyway,
Manapple still asking that.
Yeah. But Barry in your run explains it simple. It says simple, Ollie, omniverse.
That's right.
Omniverse.
Yeah.
Everything happens. Everything matters.
Everything matters. Everything happens.
That's all.
What else? What else? You got another question? Go ahead.
A duplicate Speed Force is more a Morrison idea in a Morrison universe too.
Well, glad I didn't do it then.
Yeah, in fact, it reminds me a lot to the Animal Man.
Yes, I told you, Animal Man, the thing.
I'm a big fan of that run, and you'll see that. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, what I read from Flash, I saw you that you like a lot time travel. you really love time travel, and you kind of know the rules and play with the rules. In fact, in Future State, there's a couple of things that I think you will use in future stories, and uh, it was a cool thing to see that on a flash book. And return to this moment in Heroes in Crisis, what really put me happy was that it was it was a mix. It has mixed critics. Heroes in Crisis. There are people that love it and people that hate it. Well,
Hate it.
that hate it because
We hated it.
it was, for me. Sorry, Tom King, if someday you are here, but we hate it. We hate it. You did a lot of amazing things, but Heroes in
Heroes in
Crisis
Crisis was not.
is not one. And what he
He
did to
tried to do
Wally,
an identity crisis.
what he did to Wally was totally unnecessary, and for a fan like us that grew up reading Wally, and Wally is our Flash, not Barry.
Right.
It was so gratifying that you got to do this, to redeem and
Redeem.
put that chapter behind,
Yeah, and
and
bring us back the character.
Give
and
that a
start
closure.
and start fresh. And what can we expect in the future stories of the Flash?
Um, so you're going to see, obviously, the reveal at the end of 775 with, spoiler alert for those that haven't read 775, but with Eclipso, you're going to see some stuff with that. You're going to see that kind of like whatever that story is. Further down the line, I know that there are some big events coming up that I think the Flash will take part in, which is really exciting. And then more fun and more little twists and turns in the Flash family. And so, at some point there will be the return of Gold Beetle and some of the things that she says to him in 769, where she's like, "Oh, we haven't done this, and this." And it's like, I know what those are. In my head, I already know what those events are and those fun things. And I wish you could see the notebooks. And I'm not kidding. Like I have years of stuff that I could do.
Oh, so cool.
I really wish they would give me let me do it twice a month. Like I could easily do it twice a month, but it has to have enough people buying it, and I think it's closer. I know that the word of mouth is getting out there and people seem to be excited about it. I just, I want people to order it and buy it because that's going to give me the ability to do more and hopefully try to get that second book, whatever that second book is. Is it another second Flash book or is it a second, just Flash family book, whatever that is? I feel like there's a lot of stuff to do with those characters. And
Blue and gold.
I would do Blue and Gold in a heartbeat. I mean, but Jurgens is doing that book, so
it's a miniseries.
I know. Hey, listen, it would be a dream. I don't know. In Long Halloween Part 2 on the DVD, I had written the story. Somebody else wrote the script for the Blue Beetle question short that's on there. That's really fun. It's old school, kind of like the old Spider-Man cartoon. And that was really fun. But yes, for Flash, there's going to be a lot more fun, a lot more adventures. And then next year, I have a really crazy arc that I'm really trying, that I think will reverberate all throughout the DC universe in a way. but I have to get them to say okay to it. And right now they're not. Right now they're like, nope. And I'm like, well, if this becomes a really good selling book, I don't think you can say no to me. So we'll see.
It could be that event. Oh, sorry.
No, Mario. Oh, dale.
Go ahead, Mario.
Dale, Mario.
No.
Okay.
Mario, just tell me, Mario.
No.
Agus, do you wanna show Jeremy what you put in the slides?
Yes, tell me.
Come on. We will talk a little about 774.
Yes.
A special issue for you.
Yeah.
And for, I think, all of us, because it was writing for you and your daughter.
Yes. Yeah.
Your daughter gave pitch of ideas, and tell us a little about that. How was work with that?
It was amazing. I was on the phone with my editor, and we were talking about something in the car, and I hung up the phone, and my daughter's like, Dad, what you should do is, and she went on, and I'm not lying, for 45 minutes about what I should do. And I said, honey, that's a great idea. You should write your own comic. And then I said, or you should write one with me. And then I said, I'll pay you. I'll give you half the payment. And so we went to the store and got a bunch of snacks and drinks. And I got the whiteboard out, and I showed her how I break an episode of a show or break an episode of the story. And then we just started brainstorming. And she was like, what if he's called Dr. Nightmare? And I'm like, awesome, And she came up with the machine, and she drew all those characters. And we had just gone to a daddy-daughter dance not too long ago. So it was very much, it just all really flowed easily. And she was like, she would have notes like, Ira cannot have a pink dress. That's too girly. She has to have and she would say stuff like that. And she routinely comes up with really wild ideas. And it was it's straight out of our lives. So when, especially when she started getting the art back for all her drawings, she was just you could tell it was this is crazy, and then even when I went to her school and talked about what I did, and I showed the comic that we did together, I think there was a little of other kids going she wasn't lying, that sort of thing. So it was really cool. The only problem is my 5-year-old now, I gave my oldest kid a check with money, and she's like, I'm gonna buy all the dolls. She's, her eyes. My youngest daughter sees it and goes, well, when do I get to write a comic?
The real nightmare begins.
Yeah. I'm like, in a couple years, we'll figure something out. so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But it was really special. I mean, it's the most special thing that for me as a dad, I think it's also just the element of it's funny. I saw somebody really annoyed by that book, and they were just like, what a horrible dad that would put his, daughter in trouble. And I was like, I bet that person doesn't complain anytime Robin shows up in a comic book, fighting crime in his underoos. But
that issue to me sounds a lot like the first Irie and Shay issues with Wade, 231 volume 2.
Yeah.
It seems so natural to me, and it felt emotional.
Yeah.
I say to you and Christian for Twitter, I laugh, I cry, I emotionate a lot. It's amazing what we both, you, your daughter, Christian with the art. Christian is one of my favorite artists.
So
I
good.
tell him a lot. It to me is amazing. What you did in 774 is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, for me it's amazing, but you know how it is. It's like I write something and I like it, and that was really special, and you put it out there, and you're like, you know, you're like, I hope people.
They don't get it. They don't get it.
Yeah, some people don't, but people have been really, really nice. I'm really grateful that everybody. I honestly, even with the Flash, people have been really, really nice about my run, and I don't know if that's just because I haven't done something bad to Wally, or you know, but I'm very, very grateful. Yeah, look at those.
Look at that.
See, I need to come to a comic convention in Argentina, and I'll sign them all.
Please.
We have two. Well, I think I have one of them.
May 2022, Argentina Comic Con.
If I was invited to any of them, I'd go. That's all I know.
We have the real one
Argentina
here.
Comic Con,
Where I live.
That's awesome.
Where I live, we have the biggest one here.
Really?
In Argentina, right?
Boom.
Like directly comic books.
Oh, I love it.
Not another thing that comic books.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Justice Society was super fun to do.
I can imagine, because you play with a lot with. It was like a warm up with the Flash. It was. You had written that long before Wallace?
Yeah, I did. Megan and I wrote that together. Megan is somebody I worked with on Supernatural, and she's really great. And so they wanted to do this World War II kind of Flash of both worlds, but JSA thing, and for kind of the new continuity of the animated universe. And you know, and that was fun. And Barry, again, I try to find the hook, especially with Barry and Jay. But Barry, you know, you can tell he's kind of a science nerd. And at the beginning, it's like he's sitting there and he's like, "Ooh, do you need this? Do you need this? Oh, the sun's going to be this way." Like, you know, he can kind of do those calculations. He is more analytical in my mind than Wally. Wally is much more like, this feels right. You know, like,
Okay.
Yeah.
And Barry is a little more, you know, by the numbers. But what a fun and beautiful and crazy movie that is. I mean, it's really beautiful. And at the end, when, you know, Superman, like we do this whole thing with Shakespeare, and you're like, who is this person? And then it's like, it's Clark Kent. And
love it.
Yeah.
Love
and then
it.
he shows up like the old Fleischer cartoons, and he's just blowing that stuff up. It's like, this is awesome. And the one that stuck out to me was Alicia Rotero, that it's the voice for Black Canary. She really brought that character to life, because there's that moment where she drops her mask and Hawkman had died, and she just like full on lets the monsters have it. And it's really emotional. It's great too.
And also the death of Steve, it's amazing too. And Wonder Woman, it's amazing. It's a real great character. And I want to ask you a question. Did you inspire the scene when Barry comes back to the scene to save Superman in Back to the Future?
No, we didn't. I mean, that's funny. I mean, probably subconsciously, because I've seen Back to the Future 8 billion times, you know? That's funny. And probably, and again, I wrote it so many years ago now. I'm like, maybe, you know, because that's one of those time travel tropes, you know? And yeah. Oh, somebody asked me a question. Let's see. Do you remember the first comic you read? Yes, the one I remember, I have it. Hold.
Ya.
Gente,
estamos pasando muy mal. Estamos
por
pasando
favor,
muy mal, se dan cuenta, ¿no?
dejen su like.
This was the first comic I remember reading. I had got a shot. I got like a shot at the doctor. It's Detective Comics 525. I think it's the second appearance of Killer Croc, but Killer Croc isn't the Killer Croc we know. It's like he's an assassin. He wears like a trench coat and has a gun. And Jason Todd's in this, but he has blonde hair. I think it's the second appearance of Jason Todd. Maybe that's right. And so I remember getting a shot, and I think I went to like a 7-Eleven, which is like a convenience store here, and I got that book, and it was scary because Batman is almost going to drown in the sewers, and I remember being like, this is freaking me out, man. And that's when I started, really paying attention to comics. My brother and I had a shared collection, and my brother, who's older, he basically stole them. He basically got this. You're gonna love this. So we had a bunch of X-Men comics, and we had like 98 and 101, and like this really like, oh, these are great comics. And he was older, so he knew. But we also had a complete run of Spider-Ham. We had there was 10 issues of Spider-Ham, and he goes, hey man, like you can have the complete run of Spider-Ham, and I have like a couple of X-Men that are out of order. How about we trade so that I can own the X-Men? And I'm like, 4. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, brother, I trust you. And then like years later, I'm like, that scum-sucking jerk. Right here I am with my 10 Spider-Ham comics, and he's got like the first appearance of Wolverine and X-Men. I'm still mad at him. So yeah, and then my favorite character, like I said, I love Blue Beetle. I love Batman, of course. I love a lot of characters. I like a lot of obscure, weird characters. I like a lot of the Ditko characters. Like I love Speedball, the New Warriors. I love Mark Grunwald. Question's great. And I love all those old Charlton books are really great. But I like, I grew up in, a lot of the stuff I read in the 80s. My big books at the time, like I said, Chuck Dixon, when he was running the Bat Group, it was like Nightwing with Scott McDaniel was doing the art, and it was like Tim Drake, and they were like brothers, and he like Tim Drake's Robin would show up in the Nightwing, and the Nightwing would show up in there. But Nightwing had this great run where he was at Bloodhaven, and the Batman stuff where he was accused of murder, Bruce Wayne murderer, and all that stuff. I loved all that a lot. So Wally West. Get out of here. No, just I like Barry Allen too, but Wally West is he's so hopeful. And what makes him different is, to me, all the trauma that he's gone through and what he's done with that. So he's not going to immediately, beat up a bad guy. It's like that thing with Heatwave. He's going to talk and like try to figure out what's going on. What do I think about the Batman new movie? Listen, I was ambivalent until I saw that Batmobile come out of the flames. And I was like, holy cow, I got to see that. I mean, like the Riddler, I was like, I don't know. I like my Riddler kind of corny, but I don't know, man. Once I saw that freaking Batmobile, I was like, I'm in.
Yes. Kyle, let me do the surprise.
Yeah. We're gonna go to this strange moment for you, where you're gonna discover this
strange tale,
bizarre thing we have here in Argentina. Please go ahead, Mario, and then Agus.
Okay, back in the early 90s, here we have a publisher called Perfil. They published every single DC comics. So they brought us things like the Batman comic book, Superman, everything.
JLI.
JLI, of course. But we have something, a really weird surprise.
Okay.
They published The Flash. But there is something happened about The Flash. Here in Argentina, in those days, we had a gossip magazine called Flash. So they couldn't use the name of the character to publish the magazine. So they create something amazing.
Please, there.
Agus,
Stop there. Look at this, Jeremy.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh my goodness! Are you kidding me?
No, that was 50 numbers with the name Flushman.
I want him as a villain or something. That's amazing.
It was weird. Even in the GLI, it mentioned it as Flushman. Not only on the cover. Not only at the cover.
Yes, inside the
that is
awesome. The pages.
Flushman.
Flushman.
And it's the besides the American original edition and the trade paperback that edited last year, the only edition in the world of this era.
Wow.
It's American. This era and the new trade paperback.
Wow. Yes. That's your retirement, dude. That's unbelievable.
Well,
Flushman.
You got a mission now, Jeremy.
No, I've got a mission. If Flash ever goes to Argentina in my book, somebody's going to be like, Flushman. I mean, like it has to.
Yeah,
please do it. Please do that.
That's going to be. I've got to do that. That's so funny. Okay, if it happens, when it happens, because I'm months out. If it happens, if I can figure out a way to put it in, I'll come back on. Okay, so
please
send us a page. It says Flushman.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's hilarious. That's amazing.
And it's a lovely stage.
For us, it was something that was so common and it was so well known that when we first start showing this magazine to our guests, they exploded. They exploded because they can't believe it what they did to the Flash magazine called it Flushman, and it's incredible. And for us, it's like part of our history.
Right.
History.
I think it's great. It's hilarious. It's funny. I love
amazing. It. It's amazing, and it's we still have a lot of issues in very part of the country here in the country.
That's awesome. I think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny.
Well, Jeremy, we're going to. Sorry.
That's okay.
What happened? We have some trouble in the backstage, but we're gonna start ending the interview.
Okay. I've had so much fun, guys.
We're gonna
it was such an honor.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much
to have you here.
Protagonistas del comic.
You're gonna say it. You gotta say it.
Yeah, it's Protagonistas del comic. I love it. This is so much fun, man. I had so much fun. I didn't even realize it's like an hour and a half. I was like, this is great.
We like to thank you a lot for being so kind and grant us this time, this precious time for you, because it's your time you spare for us.
You're so kind, guys, and thank you so much for the support and just like reading the comic and I listen, I really appreciate it, and hopefully, especially if I can work in Flushman, I'll come back, and we'll talk again about my second year. Hopefully they don't fire me second year,
Come on.
Well,
yeah.
Well, Mario.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. I have to do. I told you, sir, but no, it's Jeremy. So thank you, Jeremy, so much for this interview. Thanks a lot to share your time, your work with us, and it's and as I always say to all the writers and the artists, you are the real hero to us because you write this comic. So you write these adventures, so you are the real hero. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks a lot for this time. Thanks a lot for the Wally run. See, this made thanks.
Yeah.
For this. Thanks a lot. It was heartwarming, and I will keep an eye on all the run you do with Flash.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Really do, guys. I really do. Thank you. Gracias. I'll work on my Spanish. I got to get my Spanish better.
Yeah. And if you come here in the future, conventions, everything, talk to us. We are going to make a nice barbecue.
Oh, yes. All right.
It's a promise.
It's a promise.
Here it's called asado.
Asado.
Sí,
asado. Now I'm hungry.
Well, Jeremy, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for bringing back Wally from the bottom to the top again. To the top again for us fans, and for being here. It was an awesome time. We have a time of our lives here talking with you. You're so easygoing. I didn't know you were so easygoing, so cool to speak of about and to speak with, and it's awesome. It's awesome. You're awesome. And
you're
awesome.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
An awesome job. You do an awesome job.
Yes.
So we're gonna say goodbye in Spanish.
Yes.
So, gente, muchísimas gracias por estar ahí, por apoyar, por dejar las preguntas a Jeremy. Muchísimas gracias a Mario, como siempre, que está conmigo, pero en especial, muchísimas gracias a nuestro ex Flash expert, Agus, que hoy estuvo acá.
A vos, gracias a vos, Kyle, por esta oportunidad, y gracias por tener al lado a Jeremy Adams.
Tocalo.
Hey, it's real. Así que bueno, muchas gracias por haberme invitado hoy.
Así que bueno, gente, ya saben, dejen su like. Gracias a los que se hicieron miembros, a Elías Cancela, que se hizo miembro del canal. Support this content. Me sale en inglés. Apoyen este contenido. Por favor, dejen su like y suscríbanse, como les digo siempre. Y nos estamos viendo en el próximo
jueves.
El jueves y el domingo.
El jueves en Brave and the Bold, donde vamos a ver las novedades
conmigo,
con Agus, y el domingo con el señor Mario, que vamos a ver algo especial que no voy a decir qué. Pero bueno, nos estamos viendo, gente. Hasta luego. Adiós.
Bye bye.